SEAC, Ottawa.
Recording in progress.
That's your phone. I didn't know Kate was gonna make it.
So we're just waiting for quorum. Oh, Lindsay's on. All right, we're good. Let me, yep.
Get my crunching out of the way. Is he gonna record you? Is he gonna record you? Do you want me to record you? You have to give me your phone. We still have a few minutes. But turn your ringer off and the vibrate too, because you'll hear the
All
vibrate.
right. Good evening, everyone. I would now like to call the March 4th, 2026 Special Education Advisory Committee meeting to order. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on unceded Algonquin homelands. I would like to acknowledge and thank the Algonquin nations for their stewardship of these lands since time immemorial. I now call for a mover to approve the agenda. Thanks, Sonia. Does anyone have any changes or additions to the agenda? Seeing none. So all those in favor? Sorry, it's just the tip. Yeah. Okay, carried. Delegations. So moving on to item 4, we have 4 delegations this evening. I'll call a delegation by name. Please come to the table to provide your delegation. Following the delegation, up to 3 committee members may ask a question for clarification. The response shall be for up to 1 minute each, and please note that the delegate will not enter into debate or discussion. So each of the delegates tonight submitted in time to have 4 minutes. At like the 3 minute and 30 second mark, I'll sort of raise my hand, And then hopefully you can kind of start trying to wrap it up. So our first delegation tonight is, sorry if I mispronounce any names, Michelle Bertram. Yes.
Yes.
Please join us.
Okay, where would you
Okay.
like me to sit?
Wherever, any of the free chairs.
Okay, can I sit way in the back there?
If you wish, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is, if you actually wave this to me when I have 30 seconds left,
I can do
and
that.
like, please wave it, my husband's gonna wave too,
Okay.
because I have like a visual issue.
Got
Michelle,
it.
just so you know, that is the camera there, so your
Oh.
back will be right to the
So I
camera.
should sit here?
No, you can, wherever you're comfortable, I
Sorry,
just
where
want you
is
to
the
know,
camera?
it's right below the televisions.
Oh, I
So
should
you're
sit here
in the
then.
back, exactly.
Okay, I can look here and then you can see. Oh, thank you. It's like music.
I just forgot to mention for the agenda that I have the observations in, for the audit committee.
I think it's on it.
It's on.
Think, yeah, under new business, we'll add that. Okay. Alright. Go ahead.
Okay, so thanks everyone. I've asked for the help from, I believe the chair, my husband, they're gonna wave a pink, sign to remind me I have 30 seconds left. So I'm here to tell you about my son Kyle. He did have 3 difficult years in a mainstream class, but he's now thriving in a general learning program class, a GLP class. If you wanna know more about that, I have this beautiful binder full of his work from, not September, but from this January. I'd love to share that with you if you're interested after the meeting. So that's the good news, but I need to shift quickly to something that's a bit heavier. My son has very complex medical needs, and he has a life-threatening condition. He has refractory epilepsy, which means he has drug-resistant epilepsy. More than 7 meds don't work. We're now on the 8th medication. He has aggressive tonic-clonic seizures every week. He had one last night, that's why I'm a little bit tired, but I'm gonna do my best. He's literally had thousands of seizures in the past 5 years, and I just want to share one thing. The one message that I hope to convey tonight is that children with complex medical needs, it often leads to complex learning needs. And they both require appropriate, separate, but complementary accommodations in order for that child to be physically safe at school. Some students with complex medical needs really do need one-on-one support. But sadly, many school boards really struggle to provide that support. And when children with complex medical needs do not receive adequate supervision, unfortunately, the consequences can be fatal. I just have one name for you tonight, and that is Landon Ferris. Tragically, Landon died 2 years ago. He had a severe seizure disorder, not unlike my son. And the kind of seizures that you die from are the ones that my son has, which are tonic-clonic. The individual, whether an adult or a child, literally cannot help but stop breathing. They're not in control of their body. I have seen my child's lips and nails turn blue, cyanosis. I'll leave it there, but we need to make sure that we're accommodating students with complex medical needs, please. On that note, please remember that every September you will get TIO school graduates coming to you. I guarantee you these students will have complex medical needs. Please make sure that they can attend more than half a day. Many parents are being told the best that that school can give them, the local community school, is 50%. As a community, we do need to do better. Half an education, I'm sorry guys, but it's just not okay. Last June, the school board had to cut 34 EAs. I don't believe the school board wanted to. They had to balance the budget. Why were those EA positions cut? There's just not enough funding. The funding formula is broken, guys. If you didn't know that yet, it's broken, and we need to fix it, and we need to fix it this year. And parents are ready to help you do that. Just really quickly, oh, thank you, that's my husband. Just really quickly, we do know that some SPCs were closed this year. We also know that there's at least 19 empty seats in the PSN and GLP classes. How do I know? I'm now fortunate to be part of an amazing group of SPC moms, and we share information all the time. Last note, just really quickly, it all boils down to funding. And Bob, I know you're not here physically, but you're here virtually. I just implore you, you're the provincial supervisor, you have a background in finance. We need your help. Bob, can you hear me? I see you. Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but whatever data you need from us, moms, we will get you qualitative, quantitative data. If you need it to be a robust number of 100 participants, we will get you that data. My last sentence, please, we need to collectively fix the funding formula. Our children's lives, their safety, and future literally depends on it. Let's be a leader in the province. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, so, does anyone have any follow-up questions? Go ahead, Sonia.
I was just wondering if there's anything you could note in your journey to get your son to where he is now that could be improved to help other families reach the same positive outcome, but sooner.
How much time do I have to answer? A minute. Okay, can you reframe the question one more time? I want to make sure I got it perfectly.
Yeah, and I had to write it down to make sure I got it right too, so sorry if I'm reading. Is there anything in your journey that could be improved to help other families reach the same positive outcome sooner? On the spot.
Okay, I know this is going to sound crazy. Can you ask me one more time? I think I'm going to need to write it down.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What
Okay,
could-
so,
What could have been improved in your journey of getting your son into an SPC? What could have been improved that could help other families? So what feedback could you give that would help other families get to the same positive outcome that you're at now, but maybe a little quicker?
yeah, great question. So I think, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I think there needs to be better communication from the department responsible for EA allocation. There were some really confusing messages from year to year, so it took me 3 years to get Kyle in. But I wish that the conversations just had been more candid. Like, it's expensive to run these, they're 2 to 3 times more expensive, so we have to be very, very selective about which kids are gonna get in. What documentation was needed, that would have been so helpful. I didn't know that until really year 2 into the process. What are the differences between DD, PSN, GLP, autism? What are the differences between the SPCs? Yes, you can find that online, but it's dense. Just to make it, like, even just a one-pager, guys. Like, does your kid meet the criteria? If not, let's get your kid the support at the local community school. But a one-pager, because it's so confusing. It took me really 2 years to navigate it. So information that's readily available and accessible in like a handout. And then a contact person if you've got follow-up questions. And I understand that this school board's busy. I understand Learning Support Services has their plate full, but just one person that parents can talk to that really knows the differences between the SPCs and the eligibility criteria. Thank you. Sorry, that was probably pointless.
Any more questions? Yes, Lindsay, go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much for sharing your fun story. I wanted to know, sort of, carrying on from the communication piece, do you feel that at some point you experienced, you know, like you mentioned the one-pager, but did you also find, did you ever get the sense that there was some gatekeeping going on between you and folks who might be able to answer your questions? Or, you know, when you did reach out, were you to people who could answer questions or could provide information, you know, did that connection happen fairly freely? What was your experience there?
Can I speak candidly? I'm not gonna, it's not professional to point anyone out, and I don't actually blame one single person. I think there was a lot of gatekeeping. At times it felt like there was a concrete wall that I couldn't get through. But I don't blame one person, because this school board is massively underfunded in special education, and so I believe those people are in an impossible situation of having to say no to parents like me, even though our children meet the criteria perfectly. I would not want that job. Having to say no to some of our most vulnerable, our youngest, most vulnerable students with complex medical needs and complex learning needs. The answer is yes, I did experience a significant amount of gatekeeping, but I believe it was that individual's job and their predecessor's job to do that, given that we're underfunded. Like, in the millions of dollars, we're underfunded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So last question, anyone? Go ahead, Marcia.
Mine is more, thank you for your story. Mine is more just for LSS team. I'm just curious, with those empty seats, do you have a reason, do you know why there would be that many empty seats? Because we know there are the needs. So do you think it's got to do with criteria changing? Does it have to do with more parents opting for mainstream? Or, maybe not wanting their child on a van for an hour? Do you have any sense of why those aren't filled? Because I'm surprised to hear that there are that many empty. Just curious.
Sure, so I'm gonna speak to this actually a little bit later,
Oh,
and
okay.
I don't wanna necessarily take up time with delegation time, but very broadly, we have 11 different types of specialized program classes at the elementary level. And so those vacant seats, each of those classes has very specific criteria, and so even though we may have vacant seats in certain classes, and we may have more students who meet criteria than placements for in other classes, you can't mix and match. You have to, and so the vacancies in seats is likely because we didn't have enough applicants to fill those seats for those particular classes. So each particular class has a certain number of seats.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Next up, we have Shannon McNally. Same idea, 4 minutes. You can take whichever seat you wish. And
Hello. Our son Owen is 7 and he has complex special needs. For over 2 years, he has struggled in a mainstream classroom. In January, my husband and I made the difficult decision to move from the Catholic to the public board. This was so that he could potentially attend a specialized classroom in the fall. He needs something very different. We expected a direct transition, but we were told he had to be assessed by the public board first. This rocked Owen's world. This step keeps him in a mainstream classroom without adequate supports, prolonging his struggle. Sorry, this is hard. We have everything on the line right now. Last week, we received Owen's
You got this.
There's been a large build-up to this, guys. This has been extremely hard for my family. No, I got this. Go ahead. Last week, we received Owen's private psychoeducational assessment. It confirmed ASD level 2, moderate intellectual disability in most areas, and ADHD. These results reinforce what Jeff and I have been saying for years. Owen needs a highly structured and specialized learning environment with consistent supports. A specialized classroom would give him peers like him, an environment built for children needing extra help, and van transportation. Right now, our focus is on self-regulation, happiness, and the ability to make it through his days. The OCDSB is committed to an inclusive, equitable, and engaging learning environment. Well-being means enhancing mental health, safety, and a sense of belonging. Leadership claims to remove social barriers so that all students can thrive. This is not happening for Owen. On February 3rd, Owen was placed on a modified 2-hour day as a safety pause. We're just over a month now. I was recovering from a major surgery and didn't heal well, with Owen home at just 12 days post-op. I have had to hire nursing care and also hire respite. I've also had to quit my job. Caring for Owen home 21 out of 24 hours while living on one income makes it impossible to give our 5-year-old daughter the attention she deserves. Reduced school hours shift the full weight of care and responsibility onto families in ways that are unacceptable. The school's plan requires 10 good days before increasing Owen's time. I'm sorry, but I don't even have 10 good days. Extending his hours without a consistent one-on-one EA support feels like throwing him into the deep end without floaties. And I can tell you, he will drown. Plans need to be realistic, individualized, and fully supported. Even small moments matter. Owen handed out Valentine's Day cards and didn't receive any in return until February 17th. At just 2 hours per day, he misses out on these experiences. Owen still has the right to a safe and meaningful education now. Cutting his days without fixing supports is not the solution. Special education is chronically underfunded, EA support is capped, specialized classroom placements are limited, staff turnover and changes make safety and regulation harder. Across the board, children are put on shortened days and families are left or forced to fill in the gaps. Documentation is in the paperwork. His report cards, his IEP going from 7 to 23 pages, his school exclusion, along with lived experience and professional input, shows that mainstream is failing Owen, and not just Owen, many other kids like him. So I'm here today to ask you guys, SEAC, to step up. There must be a clear, actionable plan so that every child can access school fully and safely. No more excuses, no more delays. Change needs to happen now. And my question for you guys is, the needs of the schools are becoming more and more complex, yet at the same time, the EA supports are being reduced. What exactly is SEAC doing about this? And are you going to the government and shining a light on the lack of resources in our schools? Thank you.
Questions? Go ahead, Sonia.
Well, first of all, I see myself in you. So thank you, because I know it's hard, clearly, years later. I have a lot of questions for you. I'd like to know, the 10 good days kind of stuck with me. I'm wondering if what good days looked like and were outlined for you in a way that you understood the expectations of your son, A. B, what supports would be put in place for those good days to happen, and what happens after those good days. So has there been supports offered, IPRC, next steps? Have next steps been offered to you? I'm wondering what the plan is for Owen, and if you've been offered a really robust sort of look ahead and next steps, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the 10 good days was a real concern for me. I have a background in this. I used to create behavioral support plans, and there was no criteria on a level 4 and 5 behavior versus a level 3. So I was literally advocating in my sleep, 3 a.m. emails to the school. My mind was racing. They did come back with somewhat of a plan. Jeff and I, endless meetings, like it's a full-time job, so I'm glad I don't have a job in a way because I couldn't handle both. We were advocating hard against the difference between autism, especially with an intellectual disability, dysregulation. He's very tactile, hands-on with the ADHD piece. So we advocated that screaming, crying, petting others' hair in the classroom is regular standard autism behavior. We've sort of came to the agreement that when there is serious aggression, a scratch that causes blood or, violence, then yes, they're like, we're reasonable. We're working with the school and we have a really good amicable bond now. The pushback we're getting is from higher up, and I feel that very strongly, and I really wanna just get Owen into a specialized classroom because he does deserve the extra support. Like, he deserves it, he needs it, he'll get through his days successfully and safely if he has a one-on-one. He will never make it, like I said, he will drown. I don't know if that fully answers your question. Was there a second or third part to that? Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that gives a good idea. So thank you very much for sitting at the table and for getting through Owen's story. I know it's important. So
No problem.
Any other questions? Go ahead. Adam.
I'm hearing it, like, it's not, like, I'm hearing it from the other parent, like, well, that, it's like, that the specialized education, like, this is like a place where it's for the specialized education classes, it's not the regular school place, most likely. And and it's just the regular inclusive model of 100% just doesn't work. Like, I even had a discussion with someone today about the idea of a specialized education classes program in school within this, like, program within a school model, like a hybrid model. But it just doesn't work with listening to these type of situations. It's just, you can't start cutting into the specialized education classes and start shutting them down with cases like this were being presented today, and there's so many of them from what I'm understanding. And you don't have, I did the number count too, you just don't have, by the sounds of it, you just, because you need to still have them, these specialized education classes, you don't have the critical mass to be able to have the specialized like a class within a school program to have like at least 4 or 6, because you still have to have these running at the end of the day, to have that critical balance between these off of school, regular mainstream school, and so I'm asking, do you think it's possible to, like, at the end of the day, to have a special, like, in your opinion, with other, like, parents, like, is it possible to even have like a school within a specialized school within a school program at the end of the day running, or you really need a specialized education classes that we have with special schools running centralized within the district that serve special needs for kids, like today, just the earlier presentation of yourself and other kids. That I think it takes funding at the end of the day to run these programs all, and transportation and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can talk to that. So we have looked into private schools that are about $40,000 on one income. I do believe Owen could be successful in a regular PSN or autism class. It's unclear yet. We're going through that process with IPRC on Monday. He can be successful. He needs a one-on-one. He needs a class of 8. He needs kids like him. His sister is 5 and she's surpassing him in many areas, language, riding a bike, you name it. He can sense that. He's aware enough to know he's different. So being in a mainstream grade 2 class right now, having children read, and he is just printing his name. He needs to be in a class. He needs the van transportation as well, because when the onus is on me as the taxi driver for shortened days, he's sitting on the porch eating snow and I'm bribing him with fuzzy peaches to get into the car. Like, so it's not a laziness thing, he used to get into his van to the Catholic board easily. And I also just want to note, it's not just about Owen. There are many kids across the board that fit this profile that are going through the exact same thing that might not be here tonight, that are sitting at home and suffering. So I'm not here tonight just for Owen. I wanna make that really clear. There are lots of kids that are going through this, and the budget cuts, I know you had spoke about, I'm sorry, I don't care. My child has the right to a safe and meaningful education.
I believe we have one more question, if anyone has any. Go ahead,
Can I
Sonia.
ask another question? Sorry.
Sure.
I tend to think of them after the fact, sorry.
All good.
I'm wondering if there were any supports or interventions that you believe that could have been put in place before Owen got to the exclusion phase? If there was anything that could have happened beforehand that could have been implemented so that he wasn't excluded?
Yes, in the school, Jeff and I, we've been through this. There could have been more transparency. He started school on January 5th and was cut basically by February 3rd. So that wasn't even really a full month. There wasn't transparency from the emails. It went 0 to 100 real quick. We have resolved that with the school. We are on a good page with the school now. They've taken full accountability for the lack of transparency. Is there things that could have been done? They tried. It's not the right supports for him. And I will admit too, they are trying to cut into their budget now. And when that's depleted, too bad, Owen, you're going to school till 2, but we only have an EA for you till 11:15. Do you know how that feels as a mom when I'm sitting at home waiting on that call? Do you know how heartbreaking that? I'm sure you do. You said you've lived it. And hearing this success story gives me hope. Gives me hope that Owen can be like Kyle. One day, we'll get there. I know we will. But right now, it's a dark road. I'm gonna be honest. It's hard. It's very difficult.
Thank you. Next up we have Mayor Collin. Okay, that's okay.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Meher, and that over there is my husband, Paul. And the two of us, we're here to speak to you today about our daughter, Jenna. Jenna is 13 years old and has Mowat-Wilson syndrome. It's a rare genetic disorder that causes significant global developmental delays. Although she's in grade 7, she functions more like a 5-year-old cognitively and emotionally. She needs help with daily living skills such as toileting and eating. Jenna has a gentle, joyful personality. She loves music, dancing, and being around her classmates. She loves knock-knock jokes, and she giggles every time she hears a sneeze. And for a very small person, she's full of character and life. When Jenna attended Chio's OCTC school and later Crystal Bay, she always received strong support for her physical needs. Staff fed her and taught her to self-feed every day consistently and safely, and she showed clear signs of growth. Her progress was unmistakable. When school set a toilet training goal and we collaborated, the consistency allowed her to become fully daytime toilet trained within a month. When we moved her to her current school, we were assured she would continue receiving the same level of care and that a DD class would meet all her needs. Unfortunately, this has not happened. The problem is simple. Jenna is not eating at school. There is not enough EA support to meet her most basic physical needs, someone to simply sit with her and help her eat. Despite advocating repeatedly and providing medical documentation stating she requires one-on-one support to eat from her pediatrician, this request has been denied. Her lunches have recently been coming home untouched day after day. She's not getting the calories she can safely consume by mouth, and the skills we work on so hard at home, especially chewing, for example, are not being reinforced and are beginning to fade. Many of you know about the Tuesday program. We highlight the importance of nutrition because kids cannot learn on an empty stomach. So why is it acceptable that my daughter, who simply needs help eating, is being denied her right to eat solid foods at school? Mental and physical development go hand in hand, and Jenna is absolutely capable of learning. But expecting her to eat independently in a DD classroom without a support is not realistic. The school has expressed safety concerns, yet those concerns are not shared by the medical teams who have supported her for 13 years. We are not worried about, Paul and I, we as her parents are not worried about Jenna's ability to eat solid food. Only the school is. And increasingly, she is being described as a fragile medical case instead of the bright, capable child that she is. Last week, I kept her home simply so she could get enough food. No child should miss school just to eat, and safety cannot be used as a reason to deny a child access to food. We have done everything we can at home. We hired an external OT who taught us how to teach Jenna to chew and shared the training with the school team. Jenna was improving. We later reintroduced hand-over-hand self-feeding and again saw progress. But without support at school, her progress has stalled. Jenna is capable, bright, loving, eager to learn, and deeply social. As her parents, it breaks our hearts to send her to school, knowing she may come home hungry. This is not a surface gap. It's an issue of dignity, equity, and a child's most basic human rights. So we leave you with two questions tonight. Why doesn't Jenna have the support she needs to eat and thrive? And why does the OCDSB not provide the one-on-one support her pediatrician says is essential? Our daughter has a right to eat. She has a right to education. And tonight we are her voice. Jenna needs the one-on-one feeding support immediately. Anything less denies her dignity, her safety, and her right to equitable education.
Lindsay, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for sharing your daughter's story, and I know that it's emotional. So thanks for coming to see us today. I've come across the safety question myself being applied in ways that I find odd as well. I'm curious in this case, what is the safety concern that is the worry? Like, I'm struggling to see how this plays out. It's can you shed a little bit of light on that? And the reason I'm asking you to do so is I think like it's probably going to highlight like a larger issue about the way this concern for safety plays out on the ground in unintended ways that we never expected, is my guess. So would you be willing to share a little bit more about what those safety concerns are?
Yeah, for sure. So the safety concerns that the school has raised to us are revolving around her swallow. So Jenna has been eating by mouth up until January last week, up until a week ago. She was eating by mouth entirely, and the school just felt as though she was having swallow issues. They didn't feel safe feeding her. They felt they didn't have the adequate training to feed her. This is the same school she has been with since grade 4, and she's now in grade 7. It's the same EA that's been with her for the past 3 years. And I would say that Jenna is actually in a stronger place today than she was 2 years ago, because 2 years ago we almost lost her to Boca virus, which was not in the news because COVID and H1N1 were. But at that time, she was a lot weaker. So if there would have been or should have been concerns surrounding swallow and feeding, it would have made sense for them to be at that time. Today, while she's stronger and she's not We don't consider her fragile as she's jumping up and around the television and dancing. When the medical team provided documentation surrounding her swallow to reassure school that she is safe to eat, they raised concerns around her seizures. Jenna has many seizures. They're absent, so we don't see them. But that doesn't mean that she's not having them. She's on 3 different medications for her seizures. Having said that, this has been 13 years of her life. Not one medical professional amongst the many that take care of her have ever raised a concern in terms of her eating. We still feed her at home. It's one of the few things in life that she actually loves outside of television and books. So food is something she absolutely loves. Baton, I mean, we feed it to her all the time. So to be very transparent and honest, Paul and I were a little bit dumbfounded this year as to why when swallow doesn't work, seizures come up. We are working with the school to try and come to a resolution around this issue, and we will be meeting with the medical team, with the teacher and various school board members next week. I don't know if I answered your question.
Thank you, yes.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Sonia.
Just a quick one. What is the ratio of educators to students in the DD class?
As far as I'm told, there's 1 teacher, 2 EAs, and 9 children.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Eric Bertrand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening. My comments this evening relate to the committee's work on the future of SBCs. Our experience with trying to get a student with special needs placed in an SBC classroom was disheartening. The child was placed at the back of the mainstream classroom. He did not know how to read. He did not know how to write his name, but he did know that he did not belong in this classroom. And the school, left without the resources that it required to educate him, struggled to manage behavioral issues that were brought on by the placement of an autistic child in an environment where learning was impossible for him. Now, we were told this was the model the provincial government preferred. Some called it inclusive, but it resulted in the exclusion of our child. Some refer to it as evidence-based, but further examination reveals that it relies on the work of a single academic whose research methodology is deeply flawed and whose biases remain unexamined. There's an excellent article in the recent issue of the Journal of Disabilities that presents a review of recent work on this model. Happy to share it. Perhaps first of all, Madam Chair, this placement decision was made without our even being allowed to apply for a placement for an SBC. We provided ample documentation over time. Neurologists provided information on the measures that were needed to be taken to ensure our child's medical needs were met. Our child was prevented from attending school for weeks and prevented from attending full-time when he was a kid. And then was told he could not apply for an SBC placement because he did not meet the attendance threshold. Our case is not exceptional, as you have heard here this evening. We know other parents, you have heard from other parents who've had similar experiences. If the board and the province do not know how many parents have had this experience of expressing an interest in a special education placement only to be discouraged from or prevented from applying, that is data that the board should collect systematically. Taken together, the experiences of parents like the ones you've heard from this evening paint a picture of a pattern of behavior where obstacles are put in place that result in the unreasonable and discriminatory violation of the human rights of children in Ontario to an education. In cases such as ours, the limitations that were placed on this child's enjoyment of this right did not meet legal requirements and are not demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. They fail, in other words, the legal test for limitations on human rights in a country like this. Jared should not be this way. Now, our child was finally placed in an SPC this fall, after we fought harder than people should have to fight, and after a lot of people's time was spent that didn't have to be spent working this out. And the results have been nothing short of miraculous. Not only is he learning to read again, he's rediscovered a love of reading. And after being excluded, forced to stay home or stuck at the back of the classroom, he spends his days in a room full of classmates and friends. They are learning together and they're experiencing inclusion. Madam Chair, common sense tells us that many kids with special learning needs need a specialized classroom. It's not rocket science. It's not some ideological hobby horse that one party or some other party supports and another doesn't. And it's certainly not expensive. The committee has a chance to push back against outmoded ideas that don't work and move forward with common sense solutions for our children. We're all committed at the school board, amongst parents and in the schools, to the education of children. Let's correct our mistakes and move forward. Thank you.
Questions? Go ahead, Sonia.
Thanks for coming and sharing your story. I'm wondering, just a few things that you brought up kind of made me think of what we were talking about a little bit before with a previous delegation, just regarding applications for SPC being accepted / denied. I'm wondering if there is actually any data surrounding applications that come through, how many actually go through into a placement, how many are denied for XYZ reasons, and I'm wondering if that, sorry, this isn't for you, but I'm just wondering if that data is available, if it could be shared to have like a broader discussion on SPCs, and to your point, your delegation, the future of SPCs, and we have a great program of 11 different classes. Are they meeting the need? We've discussed it before. Do we have the right number? Do we have the right approach? If that data exists and we're hearing from families about issues with applications and that kind of thing, I'm just wondering if maybe to go forward, if the data is available, that we could kind of look at it and sort of talk about the future. So maybe just something to kind of put forward. I don't know if anybody has anything to say on that.
We bring that data annually. We have been bringing that data annually.
Okay.
I think that, I do have an answer. I think that the gap that I'm pointing to, or I'd like to point to, is like the first time I came to a SEAC meeting, the documentation, the supporting documentation, showed probably that there were no waiting lists for various kinds of SDCs. That was inconsistent with my experience of empirical reality. So if we're not tracking people's expressions of interest in applying, then we don't know the size of the real gap. If people don't make it to the application stage, and of course there's no one on the waiting list, and it's a waste of money, it's a waste of taxpayers' resources to have places sitting empty in SPCs because we don't take in enough applications to identify the real dimensions of the need. It's just bad management, and it's something this committee can advocate to see repaired and improve. Make everyone's job easy.
Maybe you can point me in the direction of where that data has been shared before, because,
So I think,
or somebody can point me.
and Superintendent Stowe can correct me if I'm wrong, we do see how many applications are denied, but we don't see, there's is a gap, I believe, in if families are out of the school and the school is not allowing them to, is discouraging them, or it's taking a while, or like that step that to get to the application part, that part we don't know about. So I think that's what you're referring to as what we don't know, and I think the board doesn't have data on that.
The process towards an application is robust with intention, quite frankly. And so it's not to say, like, I agree that we may not have data on all of the families who potentially are seeking a placement in a specialized program class, but the process around applying to a specialized program class is intended to be robust. It's intended to ensure that we have looked at the least restrictive environments and supports within it. In addition, every specialized program class, there is criteria for it. And so we do have situations where a student may have complex learning needs, and there may not be a specialized program class that meets that child's needs. And so there are a lot of examples of students in our district who we are working through a process of understanding their learning profile at this point in time, where we're trying to ensure that we can get to the best learning environment for that child. But we also know that when we prematurely make decisions, that there are sometimes unintended outcomes in those situations. And so it is a balance. I certainly appreciate that the exhaustion of the journey for families is something that we're always trying to be mindful of and consider and work alongside and in collaboration with families through that journey.
I guess my concern is the data doesn't exist to inform decision making. And so it's a matter of changing the way the system works. If we don't have a clear inventory of what the demand is, then we can't program for it. If we're running into situations, for example, I won't go on, but if we're running into situations, for example, where we have certain definitions or we adapt new definitions, for instance, for certain kinds of classrooms, and we find, oh, well, sorry, Mr. and Mrs. or Mom and Dad, your child isn't going to fit, so you can't really apply because you don't meet the criteria. If we can move from that situation to a situation where we say, look, okay, we've got these sorts of, we defined our special purpose class, or SBCs rather, in this way, but also have a system in place where we identify what the actual need is. I mean, you can't run a business, or frankly, a government or a public institution where you're trying to address demand without knowing what the demand is. It ties the hands of the school board not to know. It ties the hands of the SEAC, and it certainly, as you've heard here tonight, presents barriers that no one wants to be in place. So I think SEAC is a good starting point for addressing that. You know, there's a lot of change coming, with due respect to the supervisor. I mean, some of the change has been sort of top down. The province makes decisions, the province had concerns about the school board, and the province employed a supervisor, and that's what happened. But, you know, solutions also come from the bottom up. And looking at the experience of the people around this table, the parents, the school board, professionals, and members of the SEAC. I'll stop there. It's my speech.
I think that was question 1 or 2. Sorry, I think we have at least one more though. Go ahead, Anthony.
I believe, would it also be helpful, like, from the not just the amount, like the initial, like even the time it takes to get processed, because it seems like there's a theme there that's there's a lot of difficulty getting help. The amount of, from the moment bringing up with a resource teacher or a teacher simply, and then getting it through, and miscommunication, misunderstandings, all the way up to here even. Like it's just trying to get sorted through and trying to get things cleared up, and to the superintendent, or if it really needs to go that far, but it's life threatening. Some of these cases, it's literally you can't play with these things.
Do you have a question?
So yeah, that's if it really that's the timeline. Yeah.
So the question is if I agree, I agree.
This is for us, yeah, we, it's hard for us to do anything if we don't have the data at the end of the day. And to help advocate from a governance and policy perspective through in supporting the board to the province. We can't, at my understanding, we can't directly advocate directly to the province, but we can support the board to the province.
Yeah, I think it's a question of having the data to sort of to do your job. Like if the concern, well, the concern that certainly I'm bringing to the table, and I've heard others bringing to the table, is that obstacles are being put in the way of children trying to access the right to an education. Delays, really inappropriate outcomes, the denial of rights, and then gaps later on in the system. Oh, we have empty spots in the SPCs, right? How do we fix those problems if we don't know what's going on? It's not the only thing that needs to be done, but if decisions are being made about what's most effective, they can't be made without that data. And if the SEAC, I think the SEAC can play a role in helping the board and the province to collect that data and then to be making good decisions so that we know whether the approaches that are being taken work and what doesn't work about them. And if there's problems that can be solved, then let's solve them. Let's find out what they are.
Lindsay, go ahead. Oh, I think you froze. Oh. Lindsay, you're on mute. Try again.
I was on mute.
There we go.
There we go.
You kind of froze and then you're on mute, so go ahead.
In your intervention, you mentioned an article in support of the inclusive classrooms, which you mentioned it was flawed. More importantly, you mentioned the article was kind of the rebuttal to that. Do you have those citations on hand, particularly the second one?
Yeah, certainly. I have it. Well, I have it right in front of me.
Wonderful.
It's from the volume 58 of the Journal of Learning Disabilities. It's got a long title. Reframing the most important social education policy debate in 50 years, how versus where to educate students with disabilities in America's schools. It's an American article. Happy to leave it with.
Yeah, if you could leave, and I think we could get it sent out to the committee, that would be excellent. Thank you.
Wonderful.
I didn't write it.
but it's great to have it brought to our attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that was the third, so thank you very much. And,
Sorry.
so just gonna move back here. Sorry. So yeah, on behalf of the committee, thank you for all the delegations tonight. I know as a committee we're here to try to, we're all here for various reasons, but we all want, many of us have stories of challenges in the system, and it's always good to hear of people that are going through things now, and hopefully we hear from the board all the time, but it's good to hear people that are in the trenches, and I wish you all the best of luck. And sorry that you're going through this. Moving on to item 5, review of Special Education Advisory Committee minutes. The minutes from the January 7th meeting are coming forward again, as they were not approved at last month's SEAC meeting. I would like to take a moment to remind members that the purpose of accepting the minutes is to ensure that there are no errors in the official record of the meeting. And I know we've had discussions. So yeah, I will now call upon Superintendent Stout to provide further information.
Thanks. So I'm speaking on behalf of General Manager Gatley this evening. Unfortunately, he had to leave unexpectedly, so I will attempt to share some information, and between Director Kay and myself, we'll try to answer any other questions that you have. And if there are outstanding questions after this evening, we're happy to take them back and continue the conversation. So my understanding my recollection from the last meeting was there were kind of 3 broad outstanding questions. One was regarding action minutes. The second was around how the committee can receive information from a missed meeting, and then lastly, there was questions around the recording of the meeting. So with regard to the action minutes, there are concerns, and so we just want to clarify a few pieces. Action minutes record only the action items and substantive meeting elements necessary to understand the context of the meeting. This would include motions, amendments, points of order, and challenges to the chair's ruling. The narrative elements of the meeting are not part of the meeting minutes. So the district made the decision to shift to action minutes from the previous narrative minutes in June of 2025. I also want to note that when SEAC votes to pass these minutes, you're voting on the accuracy of the action minutes, so that is any motions, etc., not on capturing the narrative of the meeting or the style of the minutes. The minutes are intended to capture the actions of the committee, not to capture opinions, comments, or other discussion. The January minutes will be brought forward, as mentioned, again for review this evening. With regard to missed meetings, so it was mentioned that some members have expressed concern about getting caught up on what they missed from a meeting. Here are some suggestions that you can use if you're unable to attend the meeting. There's the opportunity always to review the agenda meeting materials. You can connect with your alternate if they were able to attend. You can review the meeting minutes to see what actions were decided. You're welcome to connect with another committee member who was in attendance or the chair or vice chair. And there is the option to request the meeting transcript, which can be made available from governance services that you can request through General Manager Gatley. He was going to speak to it, but he's not here. So, lastly, SEAC members have also brought forward the question regarding recording of the meeting. Our communications team did look into the matter and confirmed that we are consistent with the other school boards that are under supervision who are also not posting recordings at this time. To maintain consistency across the supervised boards, recordings will not be posted at this time. I also wanted to let you know that I am meeting with other boards under supervision to ensure consistency of this practice across the other SEACs. So I just wanted to share those pieces before we move on with the approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Superintendent Stout. Are there any questions about the approval of SEAC meeting minutes? Yes, go ahead, Sonia.
Like a transcript of the January meeting, please.
Yes, actually, same.
So I would ask that you reach out to Darren
Okay.
to request the transcript.
Yeah, will do. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm happy to do it in writing. Okay. That wasn't offered as an option before, so I'm glad that's available. I understand, nobody has anything else? I understand the action minutes. I still don't feel like they give an accurate depiction of the meeting. If I'm to review the agenda and the minutes to catch up on what I missed if I wasn't there, I have no idea what the query was for, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not asking for a story or a paragraph on what a query was, for example, and the action is that, someone will bring back information to a future meeting, but maybe knowing what the query was so that I understand where sort of the conversation may have gone or what we're sort of looking for. I think it speaks a lot to, like, minutes of a meeting are supposed to be it's supposed to bring accountability. It's supposed to bring transparency to what's happening at the table. I just find it frustrating that as a committee member, it's very hard if I'm not here. And even with a month span, which is fine, we meet monthly, that's fine, but even with a month span, like, I have to go back to my notes, reread, because the minutes just don't speak to what happened. So I have to go back to my notes, make sure I understand what happened. Oh yeah, that that's a lot to do, which is fine, but I just feel like that should be reflected better in the minutes for accountability at this table. I'm trying not to die on this hill, but I'm happy that we can request a transcript. I'll be glad to read it. That's it.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Thanks. Piggybacking off of Sonia's response, I concur with her. You know, a few meetings ago, we had an agenda item about governance and SEAC's role within it. That was extraordinarily helpful. However, one of the things that this committee also does is provide feedback to the district on various reports or pieces of communication that go on the website or guides for parents. And we also provide recommendations. So while those aren't strictly governance pieces, because we're not, you know, investigating an issue and then, you know, creating, you know, putting out an intervention on it, it's a lot of the meat of what we actually do is provide feedback and recommendations to the district staff. And when those aren't in the minutes, I mean, I would certainly expect something very, very succinct. You know, I sort of wonder, you know, do they just kind of disappear? Now, knowing that there's a transcript available, that's really heartening. But I think that's a lot of where our dissatisfaction comes from. You know, if various recommendations were made, and particularly to hold you accountable for certain, like if feedback was requested on a particular item, the district doesn't have to take our recommendations, but they should be recorded somewhere. It seems quite odd that they're not in the minutes. And then, you know, I'm probably gonna commit some kind of Robertson's Rules of Order cardinal sin. I don't know if we actually follow Robertson's Rules of Order, we probably do, but, you know, when I see sort of like, so, you know, so-and-so moved the agenda, you know, that's the part of the minutes I don't care about personally. So, I wonder if that's the tension that we're all struggling with, is that, you know, the action minutes, focus on the things that we as committee members may not, really feel is the meat of our work. And then the recommendations, the feedback part pieces are absent. Anyway, I'm not gonna die on this hill, but I wanted to say my piece. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think I'll add my voice. You know, this is the agenda. Like, there's not a lot to it. Sometimes there are reports and stuff that have more information, but I agree. Like, this is, and as Sonia said, like, in the past, I would reread through the minutes. I would, like, before going to the next meeting, to refresh my mind on what was happening. As chair, or, you know, it's challenging. I'm not able to really take notes. I guess, are transcripts available to the public, or is it only committee members?
My understanding is that anybody can request them. The transcripts are a direct transcript
Yeah.
of the discussion that happened here, and so they are not a clean document. It's not something that we would post. It's not an official record of the meeting. It is simply captured what was said here. Staff do take the time to review it and ensure that names are attached appropriately. But beyond that, there's no cleaning up of the transcript or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, you know, we used to be able to rewatch the videos. Those are gone. We used to be able to, you know, reread, you know, have detailed notes. Those are gone. So I guess, yeah, absent of that, like, at least I don't care if it's messy. It's better than nothing. But yeah, I expressed my frustration that the province is forcing us to do it this way, and I think it erodes trust in our committee, that it looks like we're not as transparent as we could be. And yeah, anyway, we've talked about this many times. That hopefully the supervisor is perhaps able to express our frustration up, and maybe things changed. I don't know, but I'm not holding my breath. So I guess moving along. So we need a mover to approve the minutes of the January 7th meeting. What happens if no one does it? I wasn't there, so I can't. Okay, and we'll move on to the next item. Now call for a mover to approve the minutes of the February 4th meeting. All right, so
So I guess I'll say, so long as the minutes, what my understanding is that when the minutes are not approved, then there is no public record of the meeting. And so while folks might, I appreciate and hear everything that you're saying about your concerns about the content, but what you were voting to move is that this is an accurate record of the meeting. It may not be as fulsome as you would like to see. That is, again, I will take that concern back. Certainly Supervisor Plamondon is hearing what you're having to say, and Director Kay is here as well. So we hear the feedback. I think what will happen is that next month, January, February, and March minutes will be sitting there for approval, and until they are approved, there's no record of the meeting. So that's, by not putting it forward, that's the consequence.
Could it not be an unofficial record that's public?
They will sit in the agenda, but they're not approved, so they're not being put into the board's kind of official record of what happened at the meeting.
go ahead, Michelle.
So if the minutes are not approved and not available, is the transcript still available?
My understanding is
Yeah, if
anyone
that
can
is-
request
yeah,
a transcript,
so-
but it's not official record of the meeting.
Fair enough.
So what would, in 5 years from now, we wouldn't pull up the transcript, that's not the official record. 5 years from now, we would be looking for the minutes.
I can tell you where to get the live stream.
Okay, so I guess, do we want to, oh, okay, we'll chat offline and move along. Forward agenda, the forward agenda has been provided for informational purposes. Are there any additions or changes? Yes, go ahead.
In speaking with staff, we have pause for safety and exclusion data coming forward for April. In order to have that be a more fulsome report, the request has been made that we postpone that to May. So I just would like to highlight that we will move the pause for safety and exclusion data to May. Right?
Are there any additions or changes?
The OEC page.
Go ahead, Sonia.
Sorry, I just had a question. I wrote this month, so last month was February. I meant that. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I have trouble where I am in the year. Lindsay brought forward concerns in the decreases in staffing last month. And wanted to bring forward the discussion of the impact of these. It was mentioned it might go into April, so just wondering if.
I do have that written
Okay.
down as well, so we'll make sure that it gets, I do have it written down.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right. Moving on to item 6, presentation. Now call upon Superintendent Stout to introduce the Education Community Partnership Program.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to quickly pass it over to Assistant Principal Schulman to share some information about care and treatment education partnerships, as well as the Education Community and Partnership Program. So with that, I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, and I'll just, I'll put it up on the screen for everybody here. There's been a bit of a change in name with ECPP. I know ECPP has come up previously here at SEAC, so just a bit of a change in name.
Go at any time. You can go at any time. You don't have to stay.
There we go, okay. So care and treatment education programs, previously sort of referred to as ECPP. And we'll, before we jump into the care and treatment education programs and also ECPP, the two are now separated based on a new funding model that the province allocated this year. We'll just go to the next slide and talk a little bit about how we get there. So on the next slide, we often refer to Right Time, Right Care, which is a guide for service delivery. Within our district, of course, many of you know here at SEAC, and some of our guests would often hear us talk about tiered interventions or tiered supports. And we often look at a variety of tiered supports to support students within their community schools or in specialized program classes as well. Sometimes we have scenarios where we're looking for something a little more beyond that third tier. And we often refer to care and treatment, or ECPP, CTEP, Section 23 it's been called before as well, as that fourth tier. So this is just a quick presentation about the fourth tier and how we deliver that service in collaboration with our partners. So the next slide here shows you the difference between our CTEP funding, so care and treatment education programs, and ECPP. Sorry, the P is missing there. I'll add that there now. So CTEP really speaks to programs for students who have primary need for care and treatment. It's up there on the slide. And ECPP, that pocket of funding is now strictly for students who have been either court-ordered or involved in the youth justice secure open custody detention facility. So that the description's up on the screen there. In Ottawa, so in our region, our CTEP and ECPP programs are administered by the McHugh Education Centre through the Ottawa Catholic School Board. So that's how the funding is delivered. You'll see here the difference between, of course, CTEP and ECPP. And we'll go through the different program offerings that CTEP has and ECPP. We'll cover ECPP a little more quickly because there aren't as many programs offered through ECPP. And we'll switch to the next slide as well. So within the CTEP funding, so within those care and treatment pieces, the first program here to mention is the Crossroads Children Mental Health Center. The slide does give you a brief description with a few sort of criteria pieces here. Some of the possible supports that Crossroads would offer would be psychiatry, occupational therapy, social work, care coordination. Child and youth counselors are involved as well. And we're looking at a treatment plan to support students around supporting them with social skills, self-regulation, co-regulation, and problem solving. Some of the evidence-based approach, so with Crossroads, we often, and if some of you are familiar with Crossroads, you'll know that they use some evidence-based approaches, in particular collaborative problem solving. They use zones of regulation, trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, attachment regulation and competency, which is sort of as well a part of their circle of care or circle of security. They have a broad, Crossroads itself has a somewhat of a broad criteria of accepting students. There is some exclusionary criteria as well that is new, where they're not going to be accepting children with level 2 or level 3 autism. So that's a exclusionary criteria from the Crossroads program. Next program, Robert Smart Center. So some of you will know our partners, Robert Smart, here. And one thing that I just want to jump back to with regards to CTEP, Crossroads is the community partner, right? And the McHugh Education Center are the education partners. So within each site, for example, you'll see the classroom being staffed with teachers and EAs, child and youth counselors. The funding for CTEP in particular, which is the education portion of this, and it's strictly, the CTEP funding is strictly for the education part of it. McHugh staffs that educational component with teachers and educational assistants. And our partners will provide other supports such as a psychologist or a psychiatrist, child and youth worker, so on and so forth. Robert Smart, very similar criteria or service as Crossroads. You can see that they're supporting students from grade 7 to 12, ages 12 to 18. There are 2 intermediate sites there that you can see, and 2 senior sites as well, 2 senior classrooms. They've got customized support as well. They look at treatment plans tailored to the individual and blending various therapies, individual therapy, group therapy, with educational assistance, of course, within the classroom. Robert Smart has a collaborative approach to supporting students from a clinical and educational perspective as well. On the next slide, you'll see a brief description of another partner. So again, the McHugh education part of it, so the CTEP funding part of it from our perspective is being funded through the McHugh Education Center for the education part of it. On the treatment side here in this case, this is the Royal Ottawa. This is named the Royal Ottawa Adolescent Day Treatment Unit. They do operate out of a community school as well. And they offer individualized multi-layered psychiatric treatment and psychosocial support as well. Again, a large team of professionals collaborating and working with educators, social workers, psychiatrists, child and youth workers, collaborating and supporting students in a variety of different ways. And on the next slide, we have our hospital and inpatient / a little bit of outpatient services as well. Through CHEO, and typically referrals for CHEO are through medical professionals, so a doctor at CHEO, for example. The Child Life Program would be, it's also known as the bedside teaching program, is designed for students JK to 12 or K to 21 potentially, who are hospitalized for at least 3 days for any medical reason. McHugh will provide a teacher to go and spend some time, get to know the student, get to know the profile and exactly what some of those educational needs are, and connect with the school in a collaborative way so that we could have a little bit of school during their stay at CHEO. Of course, when you're inpatient at CHEO, the focus is not necessarily on education, high focus on treatment. You've got the inpatient adolescent mental health crisis unit next. So this is designed for youth who are aged 12 to 17, who are admitted through the emergency department for mental health. Yeah, stay there for a minute. I'll let you know when it's all good. It's all good. Inpatient services. So this would be for students who are admitted through the emergency department for mental health crises and require some stabilization and assessment. So through McHugh Education, we're providing the support of a teacher to support those students who are there as well. There's eating disorders program, so there's inpatient and outpatient. So through McHugh and through that funding, we provide educators for those students as well in that program. We've got as well the CHEO Youth Services Bureau program. So it's a partnership between CHEO Youth Services Bureau and McHugh, which is the Step Up, Step Down program. It's a voluntary and bilingual, of course, live treatment program offering short-term stays up to 30 days for up to 6 youth aged 12 to 17. It's meant to provide crisis stabilization for complex mental health needs, either to help support transition youth from home to inpatient service, which would be considered step down, or prevent a longer stay in the hospital, which is a step up. So some wrenching pieces there as well. Lastly, with regards to inpatient, we have the Royal Ottawa Mental Health Center, or Youth Partial, and this would serve youth aged typically 16 to 18 although age-wise it can be flexible. And this supports youth with early onset major psychiatric disorders or complex psychiatric illness. And those referrals are made through medical practitioners. Moving on to the next slide, many of us have heard of the Dave Smith Youth Treatment Center. So the Dave Smith Center is the partner, and CTEP provides funding for McHugh to have a teacher there. The Dave Smith Center is a not-for-profit agency offering intensive medium-term addiction treatment for youth age 13 to 21. As far as we're aware, they're still operating 2 sites. Next, we've got the Youville Center. Youville Center, just overall, is a center that provides wraparound service and a supportive environment where young mothers can access reliable childcare to help support them complete their high school education and receive comprehensive mental health and parenting support all in one place. And it is a full wraparound service for expecting mothers or mothers that have young children. So that sort of encapsulates all the programs that fall under CTEP funding. So those are all of our partners that we partner with that provide service for students. Next up on the next slide is ECPP. So ECPP in particular refers to, again, programs such as the Youth Services Bureau, the William E. Hay Center, Youth Services Bureau of Sherwood, Ottawa Carleton Detention Center, and the Robert Smart Secure. At OCDC, so Ottawa Carleton Detention Center, those are typically for students that will be serving young adults aged 18 to 21. And we have one McHugh teacher within that program. So really helping students sort of to see where their students are at, and potentially looking at supporting them through credits and taking a look at supporting them through various pathways. So there is an educator on site at the Ottawa Carleton Detention Center. We've got next up, there is Robert Smith. It's not in order, so my apologies. Robert Smart Secure, though, that program would be geared towards youth aged 12 to 17 who are court ordered, and it's an 8-bed secure facility. These are adolescents with severe behavioral and emotional challenges or mental health disorders, and it's a highly supportive, secure environment with an educator, youth counselors, and of course other mental health supports as well. Youth Services Bureau, Sherwood, so these would be for male students aged 12 and 18, 8 spaces here as well. And these would be for youth who are placed by the judicial system as well. Classrooms are staffed by a teacher, child youth worker in a secure environment, with some other educators as well, and of course mental health supports. Lastly would be the Youth Services Bureau William E. Hay Center. So the William Hay Center has room for up to 32 adolescent males aged 12 to 18 who are sentenced to a secure custody site. And I was able to chat with the principal of McHugh and go for a visit to a variety of these sites to gain a real understanding of the types of services and supports that some of our students require. A big piece of this is the transitional work that goes into this. So prior to a student being referred to CTEP or ECPP is an extensive referral process, and whether that's initiated by us as a system or a medical practitioner, there's a lot of collaboration between schools, our staff, and the McHugh Education Center, but also the community partners. So for example, if it's Crossroads or Robert Smart. There's a lot of collaboration and transition planning that goes into that. And then of course, when students come back from our community partners, there's a lot of transitional work that goes into that as well. CTEP funding does provide transitional support for up to 3 months, but it's been my experience, and I know Kate can speak to it as well, and Deb and Stacy, around some of the educators going above and beyond that 3-month window, where the transition support workers, sometimes they're educators or teachers themselves, will often stay connected with students and with families long after the 3 months, because the relationships that are built through CTEP or ECPP are important ones, and it's important to stay connected to our vulnerable youth that we're supporting at this tier, which is really is considered tier 4. So that was on the last slide. You know, there's questions. There may be some questions which we're happy to answer, and you know, just bear in mind that what was once referred to as Section 23 or one big umbrella ECPP, the reason why we're separating the two is because the ministry has looked at a way of efficiency around funding is a focus on funding just for CTEP, which would involve students that aren't in that secure type of setting, and we're calling it, CTEP just because we're working with those community partners. So a little bit of a difference, a name change, no big surprise there, because we've often gone back and forth between Section 23 and other names. So no big change in the change of names, but the change reflects just how the funding has been separated out. Any questions?
Okay. Oh, Sonia, go ahead.
Takes me minutes, right? I had a quick question, just as you mentioned that the funding was split, so it makes sense how it's directionally funneled through. Was there a change to the funding amount as a total, and how did they decide how much went there? Is it split evenly? Like, is the need more in one area than another?
Yeah. So I think because CTEP has bigger, broader programs. So
Yeah.
One thing to highlight with CTEP funding, every board receives an allocation for CTEP, but for that educational component. However, the important thing to consider is each program within CTEP is also funded. So yeah, you know, good question. Each program within CTEP and ECPP is funded for the program, but also for the education portion of that as well. So for example, I hope this doesn't ever happen, if the William Hay Center has to expand beyond the 32 spaces that they have, and they have pods of classrooms, if they ever had to expand the facility to be able to have more youth, they would maybe have to add another classroom. So they're gonna fund William Hay the same as a program based on the amount of children or youth that they're serving. And then if there is, let's say, because it's secondary, an added section of students, then the education component increases to fund that added section as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, see you then.
And if there are any questions that pop up, because this idea of CTEP and ECPP can be big, and it's, you know, these are highly specialized programs. If there are any questions, folks can reach out at any time.
Thank you very much. So moving on to item number 7, information items. I now call upon Superintendent Stout to provide a summary from last month's thought exchange discussion on the 2026-2027 budget priorities.
Great, thank you very much. So, as you recall, last month we participated in a thought exchange regarding budget priorities, and so I did have the opportunity to receive the report from the General Manager team. And so I just wanted to give you some of the key highlights here, so we'll go through some of them. Just let it come up on, no, that's okay. Of course, thank you for coming.
Take care. Sorry. Do we know them?
So, just to get things kind of started while we're getting it up on the screen, so we had 18 participants in the committee who were able to contribute to the thoughts, and then as you recall, you were ranking the items. So there were 56 thoughts shared in total, and of those 56 thoughts, then each of there were 483 ratings assigned to those thoughts.
I think we're up.
Next one.
That's,
Okay, well, I'll keep talking and it'll come up.
we'll catch up, we'll catch up.
So there were 4 key areas of focus. There we go. So there's the 18 participants, the 56 thoughts shared, and the 483 ratings that the committee allocated to those thoughts. So the key areas of focus. Only when Justin goes over there and advances.
Try to click.
So there were 4 key areas of focus. One certainly was the critical role that the educational assistants provide in terms of special education services, talking about facilitating student success, ensuring safety and inclusion, particularly helping to remove barriers to inclusion. There was a highlight around the diverse learning environments that are available for students, particularly high quality, looking at high quality professional development for EEAs, teaching staff, etc. Excuse me. There was a focus on the need for stable and protected educational assistant funding, ensuring that those crucial supports were available within the classroom. And lastly, training for complex needs, and the recommendation that there's specific specialized support and training provided to staff regarding the complex needs that are appearing in the classrooms today. And so then from there, those 4 areas of focus, there were some top themes that did emerge. And so the 5 top themes that did emerge from the priorities from the committee, the first one was around staff training. Again, that emphasis of professional development for teachers, educational assistants, and other staff to ensure that the diverse needs of the students in their classrooms are being supported. Specific topics like behavior management, mental health, trauma-informed practices, and inclusivity for neurodivergent learners were areas that were highlighted as key areas to focus on, and ensuring that educators were equipped to support the complex challenges that are faced by students in their classrooms. So that was around staff training. Around support staff, there was a focus on educational assistants, itinerant teachers, behavior analysts, etc. Those are felt to be essential to inclusion, managing classroom dynamics, as well as addressing specific learning needs. Certainly that highlighting of stable funding for the adequate level of support that are required to support a variety of needs within the classroom, and that pivotal role that is played in terms of bridging the gaps and enhancing that the educational outcomes for students with special needs are being met. A third top theme was around assistive technology and ensuring that students have the tools that they needed to be successful in classrooms to support their communication, to support their learning. And that was coupled with the complementary appropriate training required for students and staff to use the technology efficiently and effectively. There was an overall emphasis that these tools can ensure students have access to a variety of pathways of education on their educational journey. A fourth theme was around inclusive environments and ensuring that spaces foster acceptance and inclusivity for neurodivergent learners, and providing different learning environments that can meet the diversity of need. There was an emphasis on the collaboration between educators, families, and community partners to support inclusion, as well as a focus on building school culture that embraces the diversity of all the students in the learning environment. And then lastly, around early intervention and the importance of focusing on the preventative aspects of educational trajectories for students as opposed to the reactive responses that we have. Timely assessments and interventions were seen as essential, as well as proactive to identify and address students' needs as early as possible so that services could be provided. And then lastly, there were two real distinctive kind of areas of focus that were highlighted. One was around, and this, sorry, the writing is so small. This was directly from the report. But essentially the inclusive school environment and that importance of welcoming all learners into the classroom, focusing on accommodating the space so that it can provide programming that is appropriate for all learners, as well as supportive for all types of learners to thrive within the learning environment. On the other side is kind of this specialized support and this idea of targeted professional development, professional services to support the students, as well as direct services to support students with specific needs. Overall, I think there was a high amount of agreement that collaboration and professional development was necessary, that joint planning time would benefit students, and there's a build shared understanding of student need and the support that can best address those needs. So these were the key pieces of information that came forward in terms of where budget priorities should be centered. I don't think that there were any big surprises in those, but certainly it's always helpful to have that reinforcement and acknowledge that we are continuing to aim for similar, that the staff goals are similar to the committees, what they do see as priorities. And so what happens next is we continue to take this information forward as we go through the budget process to ensure that we are looking at spending our special education dollars in the ways that the committee sees and use the recommendations from the committee in ways to best support the whole district. So those were the highlights from the thought exchange last month.
Thank you. Any questions? Sonia?
Do we have access to the decks that were shared today?
We can attach them to the agenda.
I didn't see it in mine, but sometimes my computer's weird, so.
This one wasn't included yet.
Oh,
because I
okay.
was just finishing it.
I did that earlier today. Okay, no, that's fine, thank you.
And same with Justin's.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll make sure that they're attached to the agenda.
And then, sorry, just one last question. Do we also have access to the report that came from our thought exchange?
I can, let me double check with General Manager Rahim, if we can include her summary.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none. Next up, department update. Now call upon Superintendent Stowe to write the report.
Perfect. Okay, so staff are currently going through the annual process of reviewing our resourcing and specialized program classes as part of our ongoing effort to ensure quality program and efficiency in our specialized program classes. This analysis looks at the current number of students in each SPC, the trends over the past few years, and the potential for applications that are being received to help us make decisions regarding class opening and class closing. We need to consider the staffing to student ratio to ensure the investment in keeping a class open is fiscally responsible decision. For example, we typically would not run a class where there are 2 students when the capacity is up to 8 or higher. We also consider how we can be responsive to students within the existing resources that we do have. For example, we're excited to be opening a classroom in partnership with the Ottawa Hospital in September 2026. This is the Project Search class that we spoke about a few months ago. It's a co-op program for students with developmental disabilities. And so we're shifting resources from one of our developmental disabilities classes at the secondary level to support the staffing in that program. So we, at audit committee this past week, Stacy did make the commitment that any decisions made to adjust the number of classes would result in a reinvestment back into special education, and any decisions made would not impact any current students who are enrolled in any SBC at this time. There is a communication sequence that is required when we make these decisions, and so we need to be respectful of employees and schools, as well as following through on staffing timelines. So what the process of that is that we are currently making those decisions now. Schools will be made aware, and then individual families will be brought up to speed. I anticipate bringing concrete decisions back to SEAC in April. In terms of the budget process, as I mentioned, audit committee was this past Monday, and I believe Anthony is going to provide us with some updates as he was in attendance at audit committee. But what I wanted to share with you is that the supervisors made the decision that the budget process will be enacted through the audit committee this year. And so this will include community engagement through Engage at OCDSB survey. That will include questions and answers, as well as there will be additional audit committee meetings added in April, May, and June. There was a request of information last month regarding the additional qualification subsidy that we do receive from the province for special education courses. The ministry provided us with $28,883 this year. That allowed us to provide funding to 37 teachers to complete one of the parts of their special education qualifications. The first Monday in March is Black Mental Health Day, and this day provides an important opportunity to recognize the impact of anti-Black racism and discrimination on mental health of Black Canadians. And while the need to address these barriers is a year-round commitment, Black Mental Health Day serves as an opportunity to highlight resources and foster open dialogue around these important issues. I would like to highlight that this week is Social Work Week, and this provides us an opportunity to celebrate the incredible contributions that social workers make every day in our schools and communities. We are grateful for the compassion and care and professionalism that they demonstrate in supporting students and their families. Lastly, would like to just highlight that staff are deeply into preparing for World Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month, which is in April. The theme this year is Everybody Belongs, which is not just focused on spreading awareness, but also on launching active neuroaffirming initiatives throughout March and April to ensure our schools and spaces are where autistic students thrive daily. Some of the resources that we are providing, Learning Support Services is providing a comprehensive suite of different resources that highlight sensory-friendly classroom challenges, educator toolkits, school spirit initiatives, and student engagement work and resources for student engagement work. On April 16th at 7 p.m., we'll be hosting a virtual event with a keynote speaker, Christy Welch. She will be discussing burnout, inertia, meltdowns, and shutdowns. This is an important topic. The session is open for staff, students, and caregivers. Dr. Welch's research is unique because it provides strategies that are co-designed and approved by autistic youth themselves. There's a variety of professional learning that's going to be offered for staff throughout the month, focusing on reframing the lens from behavioral to understanding the autistic experience, as well as highlighting sensory-aware classrooms and spaces, sessions on anxiety, stress, and overall neuroaffirming practices, transition support, to mention a few. And lastly, as part of this month, we will be launching the second session of our after-school skill development programs. That is a program that is run in some of our schools, the Art of Play and the Peers program, as we've mentioned here in the past. These are programs that run after school, and the idea is that the objective of the program is to bolster social skills and ensure students feel ready for their transition for September 2026. That's all for tonight.
Thank you. Any questions? I have one. You mentioned that the funding from the provincial government will allow 37 teachers to for spec ed training.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious if you have any data or stats about what the demand is for that, and or like what percentage of teachers in the board have that level of training? Like, I mean, obviously LST, but like, you know, regular classroom teachers, how many, you know, a percentage or a number that have that?
I do not know that off the
Okay.
top of my head. I'm not even sure if that's something that we would know as a district. Certainly it's, those are additional qualifications that are listed on the Ontario College of Teachers website. You know, those are kind of the qualifications that this funding is supporting. I can tell you that every year we do have more teachers requesting than we do have the amount of money to support. And so certainly we get feedback every year that the staff are disappointed that we don't have more money to share so that they can receive the qualification.
And-
Like, I was just curious, is it like 200 or like is it, you know, 40 and they're 37, or is it 300, or like kind of a ballpark scope?
We can find out, I think we can find out how many applied for this particular subsidy. So we'll make a note of that. But it's also important to mention, because I know we've got educators here at the table, educators who go ahead and take these additional qualifications
Right, yeah.
on their own dime. Our federation partners do provide subsidies as well for additional qualifications. So for example, OSLCF or ETFO, they will provide that, but many of our educators don't necessarily wait for this type of funding. They go ahead and it's part of, you know, it's part of their growth plan as professionals, and something that they've worked with their principals in discussion on some of their objectives and goals within how they're going to support students at their schools.
All right, any other questions? Go ahead. Marcia, yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to know, you had mentioned different professional learning opportunities. So could you elaborate, does that mean, you know, slide decks, does that mean they're in staff meetings? So I just was curious how those are being delivered.
So the professional learning opportunities for staff,
Yeah.
I think that, I'm not sure if do you have any specifics on what the plan is?
Yep, they're after school, they're virtual, and they're being offered by some of our central teams. They're being advertised through the LSS bulletins, and teachers can register and attend. And we offer them throughout the year. We're just highlighting the ones for WAM, and have targeted some of those learnings for that month.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, is there any new business this evening? Go ahead, Anthony.
Well, yeah, before I get into the audit, I mentioned, like, with regards to the idea of we were earlier with the priorities for the SEAC. Last time I mentioned that maybe polling the broader community in terms of what people might think in school councils. But I did some research in terms, because I had some concerns, whether it be special education in general, like, or other priorities of the school board, OCBSB, in terms of needs of the community. Like, the thought exchange has some, when working with it, I think it has some obvious limitations when you start working with large blocks of people. And so I kind of did some research, and you might want to consider maybe looking into POLIS for POL.is. That might be an alternative for larger groups of 500 and more. It has it avoids a group where most popular ideas and it avoids polarization of ideas, and it allows multi-dimensional mapping, particularly where you see receiving support of all divergent groupings of groups. and the ability to bridge ideas across groups, which is its strength compared to, say, thought exchange. So that might be an alternative to thought exchange for large groups of people, because there's in thought exchange, it's very overwhelming when you start having 500, starting at 500, well, even 100 people starting to put ideas in. It's very hard to rank for the already for just people participating to start ranking so many ideas. It's challenging, but then even trying to find where people stand, it's challenging. And Polis, I did using AI for both two different AIs. It suggested Polis as being a lead.
Are you referring to consulting across the entire district with families and
Yes,
students?
yes.
Thank you. Did you want to add something?
I can, thank you for the comment, Anthony. Shortly, are you referring specifically to the budget development consultation?
That could be one, yeah.
Because that will be launching very shortly through OCDSB Engage, and that certainly utilizes a very different set of tools that are specially designed for consultation across large groups. We have had success using that platform in the past. It provides multiple modalities that we can both provide and receive information, and that will be the tool that we move forward with for the budget consultation. But I appreciate the feedback.
I'll keep moving forward. For the audit committee, overall, before I go into what I prepared, there was a considerable variance in what was the original budget prepared and what was actually found in the latest budget developed over time. And so the variance was being 11.5 million in operating deficit. So a lot of focus during the meeting of the audit committee through the leadership of the chair, the supervisor, was on making sure the variance was there's as little variance in moving forward, that it was as reliable as possible for, especially for budgeting forward, moving forward. And then under moving forward with for Stacy, the budget cuts will be focusing on central administration realignment. Given that the projected 11.5 million operating deficit for the present budget year, an accumulated deficit of 21.2 million is there, together with a structural requirement to rebuild reserves while enrollment is declining. I believe that the Special Education Advisory Committee seeks a clear and thorough assurance that special education services and educational assistance supports will be explicitly protected during the board's financial stabilization efforts and the restructuring associated with the student-focused resource optimization project there. The superintendent, Kate Stout, just addressed some of that just earlier. But overall, this is a bit of a reflection for what the SEAC might want to think about, because it is a very large operating deficit. And moving forward, the board does want to rebuild reserves. We're looking at moving forward 15 to 20 million, trying to rebuild moving forward. In addition, there appear to be several areas of concern that were not fully raised during the audit discussion that may warrant further consideration. One, staffing pressures and replacement teacher costs. Ongoing pressures related to consistent teaching staffing and educational assistance support may be contributing to higher than anticipated reliance on replacement teachers. These replacement costs appear to be increasing and may also be progressively under budgeted. How is this cost effective? How is this cost being modeled realistically moving forward? Elsewhere, will discretionary psychological and learning supports resource staff being subject to cuts again for this coming budget year, as it happened this budget year? 2, one-time capital revenue from facility sales. Will recent budget relief associated with one-time capital proceeds from facility sales may positively impact the current and upcoming fiscal years. However, such revenues are non-reoccurring and cannot be relied upon as a sustainable strategy for balancing budgets in future years. This raises the question of enrollment growth in growing catchment boundaries. How does OCDSB fund capital expenditure for new schools needed? And what is the baseline accessibility standards and special education inclusive in all standards, such as specialized rooms, spaces within rooms, and equipment for new schools? How is this funded? 3, enterprise resource planning systems implementation costs. The implementation of a new enterprise resource planning system represents a significant multi-year investment that is not typically part of routine annual operating budgets. The scale and duration of this project may have meaningful implications for financial planning during the transition period. That said, this project provides a critical foundation towards better costing and modeling of special education so that funding can be better aligned and resourced. 4, deferred facility maintenance. Continued deferral of facility maintenance and build may create cumulative pressures over time. While delays may provide temporary financial relief, maintenance obligations can only be postponed for a limited period before creating large capital or operational impacts. A particular concern is that some of this deferral may not be keeping up with IEP or accessibility requirements, and that there may be significant gaps building up, creating a significant legal gap. Also, the constant financial pressure on facilities may be creating pressure on IEP development and design that are not fully reflective of student needs. 5, service value analysis related to enrollment drivers, especially given this was like the largest variance identified in the budget. As critical enrollment declines, especially at the primary level, it may be valuable to examine the relationship between program investments and key drivers of school choice and enrollment. Areas that may warrant analysis, including from a special education and inclusivity lens, include EKO results and academic outcomes, overall academic reputation and program quality, availability of specialized programs, including special education supports, childcare, such as before and after school programs, kindergarten program quality, student well-being, safety and bullying indicators, transportation reliability and accessibility, parent satisfaction and community engagement, newcomer supports, boundary design and school accessibility, facility condition maintenance and new construction, and recreation facilities. A structured service value analysis could help ensure that financial decisions preserve the program and services most closely linked to student success, family confidence, and long-term enrollment stability. So those are my concerns, suggestions, and questions raised from the audit committee observed.
Thank you. Let's see, yeah. Please note that the next SEAC meeting will be held on April 1st, 2026. And I now declare the meeting adjourned.
Just a friendly reminder, if anyone wants to see my son's schoolwork, I'm here.